What if I told you that one of the most powerful empires in the skies didn't begin with a general, a billionaire, or even a seasoned engineer, but with the son of a simple wood merchant? You won't believe this. The truth revealed is that William Boeing, a boy surrounded by sawdust and timber, nearly faded into obscurity. It almost didn't work. Yet, from those humble beginnings came an empire that changed the world forever. Most people believe success comes from privilege, Ivy League degrees, or perfect timing, but no one tells you the hidden lesson behind Boeing's rise. What really happened wasn't about luck, it was about obsession, risk, and resilience. This shocking story proves that even when the world laughs at you, the sky is still waiting for those bold enough to chase it. And here's the secret behind it all: the same principles that lifted Boeing from a dusty lumberyard to billion-dollar dominance can be applied by anyone willing to take risks, endure rejection, and refuse to quit. This changed everything, not just for aviation, but for every dreamer who believes they're too small to matter. So lean in, because the shocking story you're about to hear isn't just about airplanes. It's about life, failure, and the hidden power inside every underdog. The humble beginning was just a boy surrounded by the smell of timber, the sound of saws, and the rough hands of men who made their living from wood. William Boeing didn't grow up in a mansion, nor was he handed privilege. He was the son of a wood merchant, raised in an environment where survival meant hard work, not luxury. At the time, nobody imagined that this quiet child, often wandering around lumberyards, would one day build an empire in the skies. You won't believe this. His early life gave him the raw tools that later shaped his destiny. Yet, growing up far from any glamorous industry, doubts followed him everywhere. What future could a boy from a timber family possibly have? His classmates dreamt of law, medicine, or business in big cities, while William was stuck in the shadow of logs and sawdust. It almost didn't work from the beginning. He could have accepted that his life was destined to remain small. But hidden beneath the doubt was a fire that refused to die out. Even when no one saw it coming, life didn't make it easy. Losing his father at an early age forced William to carry responsibility. Before he was ready, imagine a teenager trying to fill shoes far too big, managing wealth and choices without the guidance most kids take for granted. The truth revealed is that pain has a way of shaping vision. For William, tragedy planted the first seeds of resilience. He began to see wood not just as lumber, but as material, something that could transform into opportunity. But here's the shocking story: he was still far from realizing where that mindset would take him. What really happened in those early years was a boy quietly training for greatness, though nobody recognized it at the time. Instead of chasing leisure or popularity, William observed, listened, and learned. Every creak of timber, every negotiation in the merchant business taught him discipline and precision. These weren't glamorous lessons, but hidden lessons that later gave him an edge when the world least expected it. And yet, even with that preparation, his path looked ordinary, even forgettable. But destiny has a way of surprising us. One day in the middle of his routine life, William encountered machines that sparked something inside him. While most people ignored them, laughing them off as toys for the rich, he felt something different. This changed everything, though he couldn't explain why at the time. You see, sometimes the smallest sparks light the biggest fires, and William's spark was just beginning to burn. Still, no one tells you how fragile dreams can be at the start. One wrong step, one rejection, and the whole thing could collapse. William was still a boy of timber, unsure of what he could build beyond his father's trade. Yet, somewhere deep down, he sensed there was a secret behind his future, one that couldn't be found in sawdust or lumber yards. And that's where the shocking turn begins. Because what came next was nothing short of unbelievable. A spark of curiosity from an early age, William had this unusual fascination with how things worked. While other kids played with toys and forgot them the next day, he would take them apart, just to see the gears turning inside. That hunger for understanding, that itch to know the why behind everything, never left him. You won't believe this, But the boy surrounded by timber started looking beyond wood. He wanted to see what machines, engines, and innovation could build. Then came the airplanes. At that time, they weren't seen as the marvels they are today. They were expensive contraptions, fragile, almost laughable toys for the rich. People mocked them, saying they'd never be more than a fleeting fad. But when William first saw one, something clicked. The truth revealed itself in that very moment. He wasn't looking at a toy, he was looking at the future. For most, the sight of a plane sparked nothing more than curiosity. For William, it was obsession. He studied every detail, every piece of metal, every wing that dared to defy gravity. While people dismissed it as a dream for reckless daredevils, he believed it could transform the world. This wasn't about luxury or fun. The secret behind it was innovation. He knew it deep in his bones. No one saw it coming, but his destiny had just shifted forever. And here's the shocking story. Instead of treating aviation as a distant spectacle, William wanted to bring it closer. He read, asked questions, invested time. He wasn't a pilot, not an engineer by training, but he was willing to learn from anyone who knew more. This changed everything, because when you're obsessed, you don't just watch history happen. You push yourself to be part of it. But let's be honest, curiosity is risky. It consumes time, money, energy. Friends and family warned him that chasing this dream was foolish. Stick to timber, they said. That's where the real money is, and maybe they were right. It almost didn't work, but William had seen something they hadn't. What no one tells you is that every empire starts with a moment of defiance. His came the first time he looked at an airplane and refused to laugh. So, while the world moved on, William leaned in. Day by day, his curiosity grew sharper, his vision clearer. He wasn't chasing fashion, he was preparing for revolution. You won't believe this. The boy who once measured planks of wood now measured wingspans. And just when it looked like it was only a fascination, William made a decision that would change everything. First risk, first flight at some point. Curiosity isn't enough. You either take the leap or stay on the ground forever. William made his choice. He took the fortune he had from timber and did something everyone around him called reckless. He invested it into aviation experiments. You won't believe this. A man who could have lived comfortably off lumber profits bet it all on flying machines that most people thought were doomed to fail. His first challenge was building a seaplane. Imagine the risk. Wood and water don't exactly get along, and the engineering knowledge available at the time was scarce at best. He wasn't just building a plane, he was building against doubt, physics, and public ridicule. What really happened was a mix of passion and stubbornness. He wanted to prove that this wasn't just for the elite, it was the future, and yet, the first flights were far from perfect. His creations stumbled, malfunctioned, and almost collapsed into disaster. It almost didn't work. Each test flight looked like the end of the dream. Onlookers laughed, shaking their heads, saying he'd wasted his money. The truth revealed itself in every crash. Failure wasn't the end, it was a teacher. Every mistake brought him one step closer to success. But here's the hidden lesson. Greatness always comes at the cost of looking foolish before anyone else understands. William learned to embrace the setbacks, to see them not as humiliation, but as data. Think about that for a second. How often do we give up after one failure? He didn't, he doubled down. That mindset alone is still one of the secrets behind every modern entrepreneur who disrupts the world. By risking his fortune, William wasn't just testing wood and wings, he was testing himself. Could he endure rejection? Could he stare down failure and still move forward? That's what no one tells you about chasing dreams. The first risk isn't about money, it's about courage. And when he chose to face that, everything began to shift. This changed everything. But just when William thought he'd reached his breaking point, something unexpected happened. One of those flights, shaky, imperfect, but airborne, finally worked. For a few moments, the machine lifted off, and so did his destiny. You won't believe this, but that brief moment in the sky rewrote the rest of his life. Still, what happened next was even more shocking. because that tiny victory was about to lead him into a crisis bigger than he could have imagined. The birth of Boeing Company in 1916, William made the boldest move yet. He officially founded his own company. Not in a skyscraper, not in a bustling industrial center, but with a single plane and a dream. You won't believe this. The empire that would one day dominate the skies began as a workshop by the water, with barely enough resources to stay afloat. What really happened wasn't glamorous, it was grit, stubbornness, and a vision others couldn't see. At first, he faced rejection after rejection. Governments dismissed his proposals, rivals mocked his efforts, and even investors hesitated to back him. It almost didn't work wasn't just a phrase, it was the daily reality of the Boeing Company's early days. But William pressed on, fueled by that hidden lesson he had learned from failure. Persistence beats prestige. World War I offered his first chance. Military contracts suddenly meant there was demand for planes, and William was ready. His company secured small but vital deals, enough to keep the dream alive. Still, the truth revealed is that these contracts were fragile, and competitors tried everything to crush him. They had money, influence, and connections that William lacked, but he had one thing they didn't: unshakable belief. What no one tells you is how thin the line was between survival and collapse. A cancelled order here, a delayed payment there, and Boeing could have disappeared into history as just another failed startup. It could have ended here. Yet William pushed his engineers, refined his planes, and refused to give up. Each obstacle became fuel, each setback became proof that he was building something the world wasn't ready to admit it needed. And here's the shocking story. His company wasn't just about making planes. It was about rewriting what people thought possible. Every nail, every wing, every bolt carried the weight of a vision bigger than timber or trade. William wasn't chasing a trend. He was building a foundation for an empire. The secret behind it all, he treated each plane as a promise that one day, flying wouldn't just belong to the military or the rich, but to everyone. Still, the struggle was far from over. His company had survived its first years, but storms were coming, storms bigger than any machine he had built. And just when William thought he had secured his place, the world would soon throw him into challenges that no blueprint could prepare him for. The shocking truth? This was only the beginning, but here's something you won't believe. While we uncovered these hidden lessons from the Love family, you can dive even deeper. I've put together an exclusive ebook that breaks down strategies like these and shows you exactly how to apply them to your own journey. The link is right there in the comments. Don't just listen to the story, learn how to write your own. The war and expansion. When World War I erupted, William Boeing's young company suddenly found itself at the center of a global need. Nations were desperate for planes, and what once seemed like a foolish gamble became a golden opportunity. You won't believe this. The same people who once mocked his obsession were now knocking on his door, begging for machines that could change the outcome of battles. The truth revealed was clear. Boeing had the chance to scale. From a small workshop, his operations grew into something larger, something industrial. Contracts kept coming, engineers joined, factories expanded. For the first time, William saw his vision turning into an empire. But even then, it almost didn't work. Delays, shortages, and constant government scrutiny meant collapse was always just one step away. Still, his company managed to keep delivering, and with every plane, his reputation soared higher. The end of World War I could have ended it all. Military orders dried up overnight, and countless aviation startups went bankrupt. What really happened was brutal. Dozens of dreamers vanished from history, their companies buried in silence. Boeing could have been one of them, but William adapted. Instead of folding, he shifted toward commercial aviation, pushing the idea that planes weren't just for war. They were for people. By World War II, his foresight paid off. Boeing was no longer a struggling workshop, but a powerhouse capable of producing at industrial scale. Military contracts once again flooded in, this time bigger than ever. The B-17 Flying Fortress, one of Boeing's iconic creations, became a legend of the skies. The shocking story, a boy from timber had now built machines that shaped history itself. But here's the hidden lesson: scaling isn't just about growth, it's about survival. William learned to use war not as a crutch, but as a springboard. He reinvested profits, built infrastructure, and prepared for peacetime long before it came. That's what no one tells you. The smartest builders aren't just reacting, they're planning 3 moves ahead. Entrepreneurs today can learn from this mistake. Never rely on one source of demand. Still, even as Boeing became an empire builder, challenges loomed in the shadows. Competitors plotted, governments tightened control, and the world of aviation was shifting rapidly. And just when it looked like Boeing had secured its dominance, the shocking truth is, the company's greatest challenge wasn't behind it, it was waiting right around the corner. The golden age of aviation be the 1930s and 40s. Boeing wasn't just a company anymore, it had become a symbol. When people thought of airplanes, they thought of Boeing. You won't believe this, but a business born in a timber yard now set the standard for safety, power, and innovation across the world. The truth revealed was undeniable. William's vision had transformed not just transportation, but the way humans experience distance itself. Commercial airliners began entering the scene, and Boeing led the charge. Planes that once carried only mail or soldiers were now built to carry families, businessmen, and dreamers. Suddenly, travel that once took weeks could be done in hours. This changed everything. A ticket to fly wasn't just about convenience, it was about possibility, about shrinking the world into something people could hold in their hands. The hidden lesson here is simple but profound. Innovation becomes truly powerful when it stops being a privilege and starts being accessible. Boeing planes turned aviation into an everyday reality. And here's the shocking story: governments, corporations, and even celebrities began to depend on Boeing to move their lives and ambitions across the globe. What once was mocked as a rich man's toy had now become the backbone of modern life. But success attracts enemies. Rivals tried to undercut Boeing, governments imposed restrictions, and corporate politics grew ruthless. No one tells you how brutal the battles were behind the polished image. Secret deals, betrayals, and backroom negotiations almost tore the empire apart. It almost didn't work, even at the top. And the truth revealed is that sometimes, the higher you rise, the more fragile your throne becomes. For William, this was both a triumph and a torment. He had built the empire he dreamed of, but he also faced pressures he never anticipated. The empire was vast, the stakes enormous, and every decision carried risks that could shake the world. You won't believe this. Even with all the power, one wrong move could have ended it all. And just when it seemed Boeing had entered a golden age of untouchable dominance, turbulence struck. Lawsuits, politics, and corporate wars loomed like storms on the horizon. The shocking truth: this empire, built on dreams and wings, was about to face betrayal that nearly destroyed everything. The turbulence and near collapses, as it turned out, came with a hidden price tag. The US government, worried about Boeing's growing dominance, launched antitrust lawsuits. Overnight, the empire William had built was under attack. You won't believe this. The same government that once begged him for planes during wartime was now trying to dismantle his company. The truth revealed was harsh. Power doesn't just attract envy, it attracts control. The lawsuits broke Boeing apart. Entire divisions were split. Allies turned into rivals, and William himself was forced to step away from leadership. Imagine pouring your life into building an empire, only to be told you could no longer lead it. It almost didn't work. This could have been the end. For William, it was a personal and professional earthquake. He had to watch from the sidelines as his company fought to survive. Here's the shocking story. Even with his absence, the company carried his fingerprints everywhere. His vision, his standards, his relentless push for innovation didn't vanish. But still, the battles were brutal. Rivals circled like sharks, eager to claim what Boeing had lost. No one tells you how fragile empires can be when the founder is stripped away. It could have ended here, quietly, as another cautionary tale of ambition and done. Yet, what really happened was different. Instead of collapsing, Boeing adapted. Leaders who had learned under William carried forward his obsession with quality and scale. The company pivoted, survived, and in time, grew again. The hidden lesson? Empires outlive individuals when they're built on principles, not just personalities. That's why Boeing didn't just vanish when William stepped down, but make no mistake, this was turbulence of the highest order. Employees feared for their jobs, investors doubted the future, and even the public questioned whether Boeing could remain at the top. You won't believe this. A company once hailed as untouchable was now on the brink. And yet, it's in these near-death moments that the real DNA of an empire is revealed. And just when it seemed like the skies had finally closed in on Boeing, history proved otherwise. Against all odds, the company stabilized, rebuilt, and returned to power. But the shocking truth is, William Boeing never again led his empire. He had built the foundation, but the skies would now belong to the legacy he left behind. The legacy in the skies. William Boeing may have stepped away, but his vision never left the skies. The empire he built from timber and daring choices lived on, carried by generations of engineers, dreamers, and builders. You won't believe this. From a boy surrounded by sawdust to an industry that redefined the world, his fingerprints are still on every wing that cuts through the clouds. The truth revealed is that legacy isn't about titles, it's about impact. Over the decades, Boeing became more than just a company. It became a global force. Commercial airlines, military aircraft, and groundbreaking technology all bore the name. No one saw it coming, that a son of a wood merchant would one day shape the way billions of people travel, work, and connect across the planet. It almost didn't work, yet today, the Boeing empire touches lives daily, often without people even realizing it. What really happened is this. William's story turned into a blueprint for modern innovation. Start with curiosity, endure ridicule, push through failure, and never give up when rejection comes. The hidden lesson is universal. The path to greatness isn't linear. It's carved out of turbulence. And here's the shocking story. The very risks that almost destroyed him became the foundation of a company worth billions. From passenger jets like the 747 that revolutionized travel to spacecraft that push humanity beyond Earth, Boeing's influence stretches farther than William could have dreamed. This changed everything. The way we see distance, the way we connect nations, the way we imagine the future. All of it carries the DNA of his daring leap into aviation. Yet, what no one tells you is that legacy isn't about a perfect story. William had failures, betrayals, and setbacks. He never returned to lead his empire, but his vision proved unshakable. Empires built on innovation can outlast any single man. That's why Boeing is still ruling the skies today, decades after its founder left the stage. So when you look up and see a plane tracing a line across the horizon, remember this. It's not just metal and engines. It's the shocking story of a boy who turned wood into billions, a man who refused to settle for the ordinary, and a legacy that still teaches us that the sky is never the limit. It's only the beginning. So now you know the shocking story. How a boy born into timber turned doubt, rejection, and near collapse into an empire that still rules the skies. But here's the truth revealed. It's not just about William Boeing. It's about you. What really happened in his life is proof that no one is too small, too ordinary, or too underprepared to change everything. Think about it. How many times have you convinced yourself that it almost didn't work, so you quit? What hidden lesson are you ignoring because of fear or doubt? If William had stopped at the first crash, there would be no Boeing number 747, no flights carrying millions across the world today. Learn from this mistake. Failure is not the end, it's a signal too. Push harder. Now, let me ask you, what's your timber yard? What ordinary place or skill in your life could be the foundation for something extraordinary? No one tells you this, but empires are built from scars, not from comfort. If William could turn sawdust into a billion-dollar empire, What's stopping you from turning your struggles into your legacy? And here's the challenge: don't just listen, apply it. Start small, stay persistent, and treat every failure as data, not defeat. That's the secret behind every empire, every success story. You won't believe how much your life can change when you refuse to give up. And before you go, if you really want to take action on what you've learned today, I've left a special ebook in the comments. Inside, you'll find the hidden lessons, the mistakes to avoid, and the exact strategies that billion-dollar empires are built on. Don't just be inspired. Click the link, grab your copy, and start building your own success story. If this story inspired you, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join us as we uncover the hidden lessons behind the world's greatest legends of business. Because the next shocking story might just be the one that changes how you see your own future.